proud of you, driver. Way to hang with it, man. Great job this weekend, guys.
Kyle Busch wins in the Monster Energy Cup Series for the second time this year and the sixth time here at Bristol.
Great job, everybody.
Confetti starting to fall here in the Coliseum. What a performance put on by driver and team. Presented by Sunoco, fueling victories all season long. In the truck burnout, he was almost outside of the truck. In the Xfinity Series burnout, he put on an incredible show. And he wants to top both of those here in the Cup Series. In 2010, when he completed the sweep, winning the Truck Series race, then the Xfinity Series, and the Cup Series, all in the same weekend, he amazed people. It's so difficult to win in the Cup Series at all, but after you come off of a win in the Truck Series, a win in the Xfinity Series, and then you can see how excited he is. A win in the Cup Series. He's done it again. And he will bow to the crowd with that checkered flag.
You can tell this one means a lot to him to pull off the triple header sweep at Bristol, and I know the fans love to see that. They've all come down to see Kyle, which is a very cool thing. And his quote on the radio afterwards, "Take that." It was clearly a big celebration for Kyle Busch, who wins here at Bristol, and he's getting some boos and a lot of cheers as well. That one seemed to mean a lot more, Kyle. Holding up the three fingers. That one seemed to mean a lot more. You said, "Take that." Why was this one, this triple sweep, so special?
That one was a lot harder. Man, Eric Jones put up a whale of a fight. That was all I had. I was running with my tongue hanging out. My arms are jello and my throat hurts, but man, that's awesome. Just can't say enough about everybody on my Joe Gibbs Racing team. Adam Stevens and the guys are phenomenal. Car might not have been perfect, but I'm never perfect. I never feel like we're perfect. But this Caramel Camry was fast. So proud of these guys. So proud of my team. So proud of Joe Gibbs Racing. So proud of Rowdy Nation. This one's for you.
Obviously, the fans love it. There are some boos, and you kind of feed off that, don't you?
I don't care. Make the noise. Who cares?
All right, Kyle Busch, we'll see you in Victor Lane, which is just right here, KB. So the fans have all come down to the fence. Very cool scene down here, Rick. And look what he's being handed. A nice broom for the sweep up here at Bristol.
And he'll climb on top of the car. He said, "Make noise." Camping World Truck Series started in 1995. It's been 22 years that it's been possible that anyone could do the sweep. On Wednesday night, leaning out the window, he celebrated his first win of the weekend in the Truck Series. Last night in the Xfinity Series, the celebration moved on to a crescendo And then at an all-time high, the broom came out, and Kyle Busch completes the sweep at Bristol again.
Reduce air intake. Moving on. Drag is one of your biggest competitors. It slows you down, so make sure your car is streamlined. And don't forget to get an edge with drafting. Take advantage of the high-pressure air between your car and the one in front. Then you can slingshot.
You guys taking notes?
At the track, in the classroom, and online. Visit AccelerationNation.com or download the Acceleration Nation app today.
This copyrighted telecast may not be reproduced, retransmitted, or used in any form without the authorized written consent of NASCAR Broadcasting. NASCAR would like to thank all of our fans for your support, and we hope you enjoy today's broadcast.
Welcome back to Thunder Valley. Let's go to Victory Lane and Chris DeVore.
Here he comes. I mean, he just said to Marty, this one was a lot harder, that his arms felt like jello. Oh, look at that. How about that for a energy drink spray? Let's slide in here. All right, now I know getting interviews in Victory Lane never gets old, but you said to Marty your arms were jello. This one was a lot harder. We build this in the pre-race as a little bit of a student versus teacher with you and Eric Jones. How much fun was that to be able to hold him off, to win, and get the broom again?
Is this the Xfinity Series or Cup Series?
It's been 6 years coming. I mean, people say you've won 6 races here in the Cup Series, but when it takes 6 years to get back, it doesn't mean it's a given.
Yeah. No, it's definitely never a given, that's for sure. So, yeah, I mean, Eric Jones put up a whale of a fight. I mean, I just can't say enough about that young man. He's a great kid. I have a lot of fun with him. I have a lot of respect for him, and he raced me awesome out there, like a great teammate, and gave me the room when necessary, and raced me hard when necessary. And, man, it's just great to have a guy like that. But this M&M's Caramel Camry was awesome tonight, and Adam Stevens and these guys, they never quit working on it. Every single pit stop we kept working on it, kept adjusting on it. So I can't say enough about this Toyota Camry. Everybody at TRD, I want to thank Interstate Batteries, NOS Energy Drink, Cessna, DBX Sunglasses, and of course the fans. So you know, this is for Rowdy Nation. Rowdy Nation's really what fuels us to get around and get along, and all the noise is good noise. That's how I feel about it. But these M&M's Caramels are going to be celebrating tonight.
You've already kind of sprayed. You had a fountain of energy drink. Now you got the caramel M&Ms. You talk about Rowdy Nation. You've said it twice here now to us. Tell me a little bit about how you've seen them sort of get behind you and sort of have your back, if you will.
I can't fight as much as I want to fight on social. There's a lot of trolls out there, so my guys do it for me. So I appreciate them and being able to do that. But it's just awesome to have a legion of fans, no matter if they're the biggest ones or the 50% ones or whatever. It's just a matter of being able to win people's hearts, whether it's by out racing, out driving, out performing people on the racetrack, or sometimes your antics. You know, some people like it, some people don't. So, you know, a lot of people liked a lot of other drivers that were popular, and some didn't either. So I don't care. I am who I am.
Thanks, Kyle. Congratulations. The only driver to ever three-peat, and now he's done it twice here at Bristol.
So impressive, Krista, as we look at what he was able to do this week at Bristol. Trucks on Wednesday, he passed 19 trucks for positions. Then last night, passing 28 cars. And tonight, 29 cars. We're talking about what a great battle it was between he and young Eric Jones. Moments ago, Dave caught up with him.
Eric Jones fought hard all night, led so many laps, Eric, and I know on the cool-down laps, everyone was telling you how proud they were of you. Did that help take the sting away at all?
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is, you know. At this point, we raced hard all night. We led a lot of laps. We did almost everything we needed to do, and we qualified on the pole and ran second. So I wish we would have had a little bit more. It's a bummer, you know. It's a great weekend for us. You can't take that away. The 5-hour energy Camry was fantastic, but you still wish you could have had that little bit more to grab the win. So that one would have meant a lot to us, but we'll just have to keep after it. You know, it's 2 good weeks for us, and we're going to keep fighting and keep going after these wins.
You have 2 good tracks coming up for you. Can you repeat the feat but get it one better at Darlington or Richmond?
Well, I hope so. You know, Bristol was, I felt like one of our best shots to win, and it showed. I felt like we led a ton of laps and just didn't have, you know, quite enough when it mattered. I wish we would have freed it up a little bit more. We got up on the top there, and it really seemed like who's ever out front was going to win. So just didn't have quite enough.
Well, it's the highs and lows of Bristol. Matt Kenseth, if you win stage 2, then you get caught speeding on pit road. I'm sure at some point you had victory lane in your sights. But given the fact that your teammate Kyle Busch wins and you have a solid point stage, does this one end on a high for you?
Yes and no. I mean, I really probably wanted this one worse than any of them I had in a long time. But just, you know, the speed on pit road, me and Jimmy were having a heck of a race up pit road. I was on my mark, but he just was holding me so tight. I got too close to the inside wall, so it was my fault for not compensating enough. But we had a good car in short runs. Anything more than 50 laps, we were in trouble. First 50 laps, we were really good. I think if we would have got in the front, but I just get tight after 50 laps and then couldn't do anything with it.
I don't know what you could see out of your windshield, but as the race comes down and you see Eric Jones trying to run down your teammate, which would take another playoff spot, what were you thinking during the closing laps?
I wasn't really thinking about playoffs. I was really trying to think about winning the race, and I really didn't think about anything else. I mean, we just, you know, these guys had great pit stops today. We fought hard, and just going to get it done. So I was just disappointed with that.
Thank you, Matt.
Third for Denny Hamlin tonight, and I want to call it kind of a sneaky third. What was lacking for you at the end there, Denny?
Just, I'd love one restart on the top. I think the 2 restarts I had on the top were within the first, 80 laps. After that, I was third on the bottom. Tried to get cute on a few restarts and tried to brake check at the end of the pit road and ended up losing 2 spots and ended up on the bottom line anyway. So I went outside the top 10 nearly every restart and had to battle back. So I think we really had a fast car, equal to anybody in front of us, but we just didn't get in the right line, just didn't have that track position we needed. But the overall solid day for our FedEx Crown Toyota team, and we'll keep building, keep getting ready for the playoffs.
In his 600th start, Kurt Busch comes away with a top 5 finish. Kurt, in the wall early, how did you guys manage to recover for such a strong finish?
I was trying to pace our car, and the Monster Energy Ford loved the top side. And the VHT, the PJ1, the grip, we just struggled in it since they started putting it down. But after reviewing tape and going old school, I figured we'd run that top groove after halfway, burn it in, and chase them down. And I just went too hard too soon, but we got back in position due to Tony Gibson's pit call. Great pit stops all night. We knifed through them on some restarts and sniffed the lead. I mean, it's my 600 start. We got beat by the same team of guys, but it was neat to sniff the lead with 50 to go and have a shot at it. So this old bull wants to put up a fight, and I'm ready for the playoffs. We keep running like this, we'll be all right.
Yeah, a bunch of Toyotas ahead of you. Where do you think that you guys were lacking, or what more did you need out of the 41?
There's a little bit of rear steer magic, horsepower, downforce. It's just everything. You can't pinpoint one thing, but this team doesn't give up, and I'm really proud of this group of guys. And this off week could be nice. Recharge, and then we'll charge through these final 12 weeks.
Thank you, Kurt. Thank you.
Only 2 races to go until the playoffs as we look at the standings. And with that win by Kyle Busch, so multiple wins now for Kyle Busch. And that doesn't change a lot as far as the 3 guys that need to get in based upon points. There's only 2 more options, so 1 driver is going to get in based on points guaranteed. So we've always gone to that points are important line, and even more so now because of the multiple wins by Kyle Busch.
Well, I think we saw how fragile it was when Eric Jones was leading, or when Matt Kenseth was leading. Every time we would show the points, it was 4, 5, or 6 points. Since Kyle Busch ended up getting that win, it's back to 50 or 60 points. But I think that just proves how important the next 2 races are. Points will get 1 driver in, but I don't think anyone can guarantee a spot with points, because if someone below that line wins a race, or someone without a win wins a race, the bogey, where you think you need to be, the ceiling you're trying to reach, it moves. Just as you close in, it kind of runs out of your grasp again. So I think Eric Jones made a statement tonight that he can win a race. Richmond, another short track coming in a couple weeks. Should be exciting. But first, we have to go through odd-shaped Darlington. And talk about treacherous. Running against the wall there for 500 miles is a challenge.
Yeah, I think Eric Jones, with what he did tonight and with what he did last week, now the field has to be looking at Eric Jones saying, you know, this guy can win a race. And if he does win the race, he's going to completely change the environment. So NASCAR has always been about points. And now, right now, it's even more about points because those three guys, they're not all going to win. So they cannot afford bad races. They cannot afford to make mistakes. Going to Darlington, where you have a very difficult racetrack, going to Richmond with all those pressures. So this off weekend is not going to be a pleasurable one for these guys. It's going to be pressure on. It's been like that for the last month, but it's just continuing to build.
And, of course, the 45-year-old Matt Kenseth with another impressive performance, but just not enough to get him locked into the playoffs yet. Let's hear from a Tennessee native standing by with Kelly.
It was a heck of a day for Trevor Bayne. Brought out the caution early in this race, but man, you guys recovered to come away with a 7th place finish. That's back-to-back great finishes, a 5th and a 7th here. What is this team doing so right at this point?
Thank you. I don't know. I guess it's just execution. I feel like the last month we've had strategy. We've had things go our way somewhat, and we've gotten results from it. But here at Bristol, Roush Fenway always gives us great cars, and we've had really good runs the last 4 or 5 races. But our Ford was fast tonight at the end when it mattered. At one point, like you said, we blew it right front, hit the fence, and I thought we were going to be lucky to get back on the lead lap. Got on the lead lap, got a caution, got some new tires on it, and we were passing cars. And, man, Jimmy and I had a pretty epic battle for a minute there, but we were able to get the 7th. Pretty happy with that, and we'll keep working on it. Obviously, we need to win. That's what our goal is. So the 7th is great, but we're like, oh, man, we gotta get there. But really proud of these guys and the gains we're making. Thanks to Advocare and Liberty National and Ford Performance. Also, Performance Plus Motor Oil. It's just been a rough time through the summer, but we're coming back now.
Yeah, you got 2 races left before the playoffs. Where do you see your best opportunity to get that win?
Hopefully the next one. That's what you always hope for, and Richmond's been good to us also, so we can get the thing to hook up on exit of turn 4. We'll be there at the end of Richmond.
Thank you, Trevor.
Thank you.
10th for Ryan Blaney with a car that ran there most of the night, Ryan. It was a little back and forth, and I heard you sort of fighting the handling of it. What was the biggest issue for you tonight?
Yeah, back and forth was a good way to put it. You know, we had great short-run speed, fantastic short-run speed, actually, for 15, maybe 20 laps. And then that middle portion, we would struggle. And really long runs, I thought we were really good. Just that middle stage, we were kind of rough. And I didn't think there was going to run to the end there. I thought there was going to be a caution, and we could come get tires and be in a good spot. But that's the way it goes. But we persevered all night. I was really proud of our team getting our car better, and you know, I can't thank Motorcraft and Quick Lane and Ford enough for what they do, and these solid runs and getting our car better throughout the race is what we need. That's what we need to build on for the playoffs in a few weeks, and hopefully we can have some solid momentum going into those.
Collins told me before the race, except for the power steering in the spring, you had a pretty good package and would have liked to have run that whole race. What was it like to get a full one in here with a good race car?
Yeah, honestly, I didn't think we were as good as the spring race. I thought we were a little bit better in the daytime. At night, our car didn't really seem to handle as well, and the VHT was a lot different. You know, it was only about half the width that it was in the spring, so I think that played a little bit part in it. But it was fun to kind of mess around with the VHT and kind of know when to run it, when not to. And I thought the lanes were pretty even from the top to the bottom lane, so that made it really fun. So NASCAR and the track did a good job of you know, kind of discipline themselves to not put a ton down, but just enough to run decent.
A fun top 10 for Ryan.
We will have continued comprehensive post-race coverage live from here at Bristol Motor Speedway on NBC SN. As we mentioned, just 2 races remain. It will be Darlington and Richmond. So Darlington, an odd-shaped 1 1/3 miles, and then you go to short track racing at Richmond to finish off the regular season and go into playoffs. So now we've got a situation coming up. Only 2 races remain. Guys needing to win if they want to have a chance at this championship.
Well, we've talked so much about the guys that do need to win or have good finishes, but what about the guys building momentum to try to win the championship? Kyle Busch winning tonight, making a statement that team can be a contender for the championship. All those guys that feel like they're moving along, Martin Truex Jr., those teams, they want to continue to get better. They know they're going to have to improve and these next few races gives them the chance to do that.
Well, Jeff, you and I have both had this conversation as competitors. We thought we were always doing as much as we can, but it seems like when the pressure builds, certain cars rise to the top. Again, tonight, no different. The 77 in a must-win, he's leading laps. The 20 of Matt Kenseth was up there. Clint Boyer fought hard. Jamie McMurray found a way to run up inside the top 10. I think that's the story. When you come to the next two races, there are drivers that felt they were playoff bound when the season started in February. Now we're closing in on September, and someone is going to leave Richmond very disappointed, because while they will miss the playoffs in NASCAR, guess what? You still get to race the last 10 races and watch another team race for a championship.
And that is the definition of miserable. When you go into, when everybody's going to the playoffs and you're not, and all the media, all the attention, all that stuff, now, to be honest with you, you're forgotten. You're not even part of the story anymore, and it is heartbreaking after putting that much effort into it and not being in the playoffs.
So many great performances we've seen throughout this regular season, and I'll look at Martin Truex Jr. He came home today outside of the top 20s and 21st, but still he's going to end up being the regular season champion and get extra bonus points.
Well, I think at this point, Jeff mentioned it, it's momentum. They want to go to Darlington. They don't need to do anything, but it would be nice. Playoff points are still available, and you just want to end the regular season on a high note, take that momentum into Chicago and try to have that carry through all 10 races.
So important to have momentum as you're getting ready for a championship run and the playoffs. Well, right now, Kyle Busch enjoying his momentum. More live post-race coverage is coming up on NBC SN. Coming up next on NBC, your late local news, followed by Saturday Night Live with host Jimmy Fallon. What a weekend it has been for Kyle Busch. Wild rides here at Bristol, but he completes the sweep. Trucks, Xfinity, and now the Monster Energy Cup Series Saturday night Bristol win. Continued post-race coverage now from here at Bristol Motor Speedway as we look down on the last great Coliseum, and some incredible battling has been taking place all evening long. And in the end, it was Kyle Busch who was able to complete the sweep and get the win here on the biggest nights at Bristol Motor Speedway. Now let's go to Krista, Kyle, and DJ.
Thank you, Rick. Always an incredible night under the lights here at Bristol. There you see the winner, Kyle Busch, his wife Samantha, their little boy Brexton in Victory Lane, which is a new location for Victory Lane here at Bristol, out on the front stretch for the first time. We are standing where Victory Lane normally is, the black and white checkered floor, just over our shoulders here. Chris Devoto along with Kyle Petty and Dale Jarrett. So we know we're going to talk Kyle Busch and what he's been able to do, but we saw potentially the playoff picture. We thought as we were watching the race, okay, it's going to shake up because Eric Jones is going to win. Then you had Chase Elliott running up front, Matt Kenseth. In the end, it's a guy who already won, so we don't have a new winner. But now there's only 2 more races for these guys to get in. I mean, time is running out.
Yeah, and 2 difficult races at that. So another one slipped away. I can't say enough. Obviously, we're going to talk Kyle Busch, and we have plenty of time to do that. But you know, there's a rookie, Eric Jones, that is really impressing everybody. I think, you know, this has been the buildup about him, and I think starting the second team there at Furniture Row and then him getting used to the Cup cars, I think took a little time. But what an impressive run. I mean, he gave Kyle Busch everything he could possibly want there and did everything tonight you would want him to do except be right there at the very end. But a great run for him, and he's got, you know, Darlington's going to be a tough place. Always a tough place for a rookie to go, but Richmond certainly another short track, very capable there.
Yeah, and you know, we talk about Eric Jones, and we'll finish that loop, is you come here and you fend off everybody but Kyle Busch. You've got nothing to hold your head. You hold your head high because this guy, we know Kyle Busch knows how to get around this place, and especially this week, from trucks to Xfinity to everything. But I think what Eric Jones did tonight was establish himself in a lot of fans' minds, finally. I think competitors have already said, we're going to have to look out for Erik Jones. But I think the fans saw what he could do, what he could do tonight when he leads a race and how he could control a race.
Well, we know we have a lot of fans who've joined us from watching some other great sports moments tonight. I know we have fans who just came from gymnastics, the Pacific Classic, and horse racing. For horse racing fans, Kyle Busch would be the Arrowgate and Erik Jones is the Accelerate. A great matchup there for horses. This is what's happening on the track as well. Kyle Busch is going to join us in a little bit, but a phenomenal evening here at Bristol Motor Speedway. It's one of the must-see tickets in sports, especially in NASCAR. We will hear from Erik Jones, who Kyle and Dale were just talking about, and Matt Kenseth, drivers trying to get into the playoffs and keep their seasons alive. Kyle Busch does not have to worry about it. He knows he's still racing for a championship because he has made the playoffs just moments ago. Or actually right now, I believe Marty Snyder is with his crew chief.
I am, Krista. We'll walk in here. We're backstage at the hat dance, so we're in the middle of hats changing, and Adam's texting people left and right. Hey, congratulations. Kyle said one of the most hard-fought wins he's ever had. I mean, how agonizing was it for you on the pit box? I know at one point you were worried about tires because he said we have an issue maybe.
It was tough. The cars at the front were so even. You know, you had to be in the outside lane on the restarts. You had to have good pit stops, and it just seemed like we'd all kind of run about the same speed. That 77 was so fast, and Kyle found a little something there and was able to get by him. And the 20 went to the back and came back to the front. What an amazing race.
That was pretty cool. When he was in the back there after they had the little slow pit stop and also a little slower on pit road because you guys backed the tack down a little bit this weekend just to play it a little safe. Were you worried at all, the traffic and all the way he had to pick his way through?
Absolutely. You just never know what's going to happen here. It's such close quarters racing. It just takes one mistake by any driver and you can get in the fence in a heartbeat. It's happened to us a time or two. It happens to everybody. So you know you're worried on these restarts and you're worried when they're that close to the wall. But, you know, as a crew chief, there's not a whole lot you can do about that.
You and I had talked earlier in the day about the winning speed you've had and not the ability to finish. How key is it then to get up like that?
You know, winning more races. And this year, we've had speed, but it seems like we didn't capitalize. And now we're starting to capitalize a little bit closer.
Audio issues there with Marty's mic. I think it's all that celebration, the champagne, the energy drinks.
Yeah.
That's what I thought it was. Listen, hey, Marty, if you can't do the interview, you might as well just join the celebration. Yeah, there we go. Awesome. Yeah, and the broom, I don't know if you guys could hear, we had some mic trouble, so I don't know if you guys at home could hear Marty Snyder talking to crew chief Adam Stevens, but talking about how difficult this was for Kyle Busch, which we're going to ask Kyle when he gets here. But the thing is, he makes it look so easy. You know, it's hard to think it was difficult, but he said his arms were jello when he got out of the car.
Yeah, I mean, he's run, 3 hard races here and had to drive hard, had to come from the back in the 2 previous, and he passed a lot of cars here tonight, and good race cars. And when you're battling that hard, I mean, you can see there at the end of the race when he's trying to keep his lead, the lap traffic, it was amazing to stand right here where we are and watch him maneuver and really have to work. There was nothing easy about fending everybody off in that respect. And other people were racing hard too. So this is a difficult spot. As Adam Stevens was talking about, Kyle Busch got up on the wheel. And that's what happened at the end of that race. And not to take anything away from Erik Jones, but Kyle Busch decided, hey, it's time for me to win this. This is my opportunity to do something once again that nobody else has ever done, and that's sweep a weekend.
Yeah, and we heard Adam talk about how even the cars were at the front. I think that surprised these guys, that you had to be out front, and whoever got out front, once you got out front, then it was simpler. It wasn't easier, but it was simpler. And we saw Kyle be able to work traffic and make something happen for himself and not be as concerned with trying. Erik Jones was struggling just to to come through traffic and maintain that gap, much less gain a little bit there. So it's going to be interesting to talk to Kyle to see how this compares with the last time that he swept this thing and how much harder maybe the truck race or the Xfinity race was. He's at a different place in his career than he was then.
Yeah, and we won't get it out of Kyle Busch or any of the other Toyota drivers, but TRD has found something in their engines, and I'm telling you, they have a lot what we used to call torque and that it really works well whenever the RPMs get down, and you can see that they were able to make passes on cars and clear on the exit of corners where some others were fighting a little bit that maybe handling, but you really could see it in the engines as they would accelerate, and that would just that split second help them not to get caught up beside a car and lose another 3 or 4 seconds, and that just is a lot of car lengths on this racetrack.
Well, if you are just joining us from perhaps a different sporting event on NBCSN, we're glad you're with us. It's the Bristol Night Race. Again, one of the must-see events in sports. Kyle Busch, the winner. But you've heard us talk a lot about a young man named Erik Jones. So if you're thinking, who is he? What's his story? Well, he was in the media center speaking just a few moments ago.
Times, I mean, especially in that 100-lap run we had, we caught some traffic that was, I mean, you're catching faster cars. That's, I mean, yeah, thanks. But when you catch those faster cars, you know, it's just tough to pass them. I mean, they're not slow. I mean, you're passing cars in the top 15, so you get up there and it's just tough to maneuver around them.
We're now joined by our 4th place finisher tonight, Matt Kenseth, driver of the number 20 DeWalt FlexVolt Toyota for Joe Gibbs Racing. Matt, difficult race out there, but you had a fast Camry. Just talk about the rigors of running this race this evening.
The rigors of running the race. Sounded very dramatic. I like that. We were just, we didn't start race very good. They made good adjustments, had really awesome pit stops. Got behind when we sped on pit road. We had a great 40-lap car, really, really fast, and then it would just get tight, and I just really couldn't do anything about it. So that run was just too long. I felt like if we wouldn't have got the caution and cycled the tires, I felt like I was making maybe a little ground on Erik, not a ton, but a little bit. But then after that cycle and we had that long run, we just really got tight, and I couldn't really do much with it.
Okay, we'll continue on here. We'll go with Mike, then to Daniel, and then we'll go upstairs to the press box.
Mike Hembry, USA Today. Erik, Kyle's proven his abilities over and over again, but does it say something extra about him, what he did here this week, 3 in a row?
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's a great feat. I mean, obviously he puts himself in the situation to win a lot of those races, and he still goes out and executes. I mean, it's not easy to do. You know, I run my fair share of Xfinity races during the year, and you know, he's winning 5, 6, 7, 8 a year, and you know, we're not winning quite that many. So obviously he's doing a great job at that level as well. But it's every week, you know, it's not, you know, people rag on him for the truck and the Xfinity stuff, but he does a great job on the Cup side too. Obviously he's had a ton of speed all year long. He probably should have had way more than 2 wins this year, but he's really on it. You know, he's got it going on. He's got it figured out, and it's hard to keep up with him at times.
Daniel?
Daniel McFadden with NBC Sports. Erik, through 28 Cup starts and a half start here for Danny a few years ago, is this the most fun you've had in a Cup race so far?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, it's just the most. These cars are so hard to drive on 1.5 and 2 mile tracks that it's hard to race. It's hard to race side by side. It's hard to race front to back. It's hard to really run side by side, and you don't really see the action like you see here with people, you know, right nose to tail and throwing slide jobs and everything like that. So, yeah, I mean, it takes you back to, you know, late model racing, really. I mean, more than anything, you're just on the gas, and you're not saving tires. You just hammer down and getting everything you can, which is a lot of fun. It's hard on you as a driver. I mean, it wears you out, but you definitely have a lot of fun. I mean, it's, you know, if I had to rank it, this is probably the most fun I've had in a Cup race, yeah, for sure.
And Matt, when you got up there and were fighting with him and Kyle, what were you seeing out of what Erik was doing that impressed you, how he handled those last few laps?
Well, I didn't see him the last few laps. I think they were about a half lap ahead. But before I got tight, yeah, it was just it was a good race. It's kind of tough being the leader at times here. Not that I have been the last couple of races, but with that bottom like that, you know, you're never sure when to get off the bottom, and you know, when you're the first one up there, you know, and they go rolling by you on the bottom, then you're like, man, I shouldn't have moved up so quick. But you know, we both got a pretty good run up on the top, and I got mixed up and got in front of him, and then it just wore me down and passed me back, and I didn't see him very long. Just got a lot smaller.
I I love Matt Kenseth's sense of humor. I mean, couldn't you just listen to him all night? So the names in yellow are the ones who are playoff eligible. There you see Matt Kenseth actually moves up a spot to 15th. So 14th, 15th, and 16th. They are in right now on points, but we know how much things can change. And that's why we said if Erik Jones had won this race, it would really shake things up because he would take one of those positions. And Kyle, Erik Jones led 260 laps tonight. Previous, the most he led 51. So this was a great race for him.
Yeah, great race for Erik Jones.
Coming off Michigan, a great
Coming
race
off Michigan. And then we talked about it on the pre-race. We've talked about it this week on NASCAR America. Momentum does a lot for a team. Momentum does a ton for a young driver because all of a sudden that young driver says, I can do this. Yep. I can run with these guys. I can run up front. And Erik Jones came into this race believing that he could run up front, that he could lead this thing, and he could race. Here's Erik Jones racing with Kyle Busch and Matt Kenseth, running door to door, nose to tail, passing inside, passing outside, making them run his race for a while in this race. And that's impressive. And again, I say it, the fans will take notice of Erik Jones after tonight. I think a lot of competitors already have. This was a crazy move right here. He just stuck it in there knowing that he had to make something happen at the end of the race.
Yeah, that was impressive to watch right there. Just doing whatever it took, went wherever there was a small opening. I think, Kyle, we talked about this on NASCAR America this week. The short track being the great equalizer. The cars have less downforce. Yeah, it makes a little bit of difference here, but not like you're talking about. Yeah. Erik talked about in that interview just how hard these cars are to drive on the 1.5 and 2 mile racetracks and the difficulty of that. Well, you can throw that out a lot here. It's just you got to get your car as good as you can get it, and then the driver has to be great for those 500 laps, and he did a phenomenal job. He beat one of the best that's ever, or he finished second to one of the best that's ever going to come through this sport. Kyle Busch has done things and is going to continue to do things that nobody else has ever done in this sport, and he's just phenomenal to watch. So for Erik Jones to come here and compete and give, again, Kyle everything he could possibly handle, it just says a lot about his talent. And to do this, well, again, you go back to the starting a second team in a short amount of time to make all of that happen and put the crew together. They're based in Denver, Colorado. So you have all of those things. And I know they get all this help from Toyota and Joe Gibbs Racing and all that, but you still have to have the people to make all of that happen and then the driver to get it done.
And you saw in that media center interview where Erik Jones and Matt Kenseth kind of joking with each other. And if folks are new maybe to watching us, think, well, they're not teammates. They both drive Toyotas, though. It's sort of this same alliance. In fact, Toyota top four, all four of the top four finishers tonight were driving Toyotas. But Matt Kenseth, and you guys have talked about this, Matt Kenseth is for real, especially on these tough, difficult physical tracks. And that's what we have coming up in Darlington and Richmond, too. So watch out for Matt Kenseth.
Yeah, but here we showed that there where we have Chase Elliott and we have Jamie McMurray and we have Matt Kenseth right there now. So they all look great. Yeah, points-wise, they're not going to fall out of the top 16 by points. But there's still people back there that could possibly win one of these races, and then because they're all within 10 points of each other, whoever ends up on the bottom could be kicked out at Richmond. It could happen.
Meaning what Matt Kenseth did tonight is huge.
Yes, by moving up a spot.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's what we said. We've been saying this, that you don't want to race Matt Kenseth on points because he's too good and too smart to lose out in a situation like that.
Yeah, Matt's the only one right now moving forward in points.
Yeah,
if we talk about all these 3 or 4 guys, Chase Elliott, Matt Kenseth, Jamie McMurray, Clint Boyer, Joey Logano, we've been talking about these 5 drivers, it seems like, for the last 6 or 7 races. The only one that keeps moving is Matt Kenseth. He never stays in the same place. He keeps moving. Now, I'm gonna go back to that interview in the press room and back to what you said about them not being teammates. They are teammates. They were teammates last year. Joe Gibbs said, here, you take Erik Jones, let's start this other team and go out there. I don't know about the guys asking the questions in the garage, in the press room in there, how short their memory is when somebody asks Matt Kenseth what he thinks about Erik Jones, because Erik Jones is taking Matt Kenseth's place next year. Okay, we've already been through that. We've been through the chaos of Matt's out, Eric's in. Okay, Matt may be kind and Matt may be gentle, but Matt didn't answer that question. He just said, I didn't see him. That's a great answer from Matt Kenseth because that is the kid that's coming in that will be Kyle Busch's teammate next year. So these guys, Kyle Busch alluded to it in Victory Lane where he said, he raced me hard. He called him a teammate. when he did the victory lane, when you were over there talking to him. He called him a teammate. So they are teammates. And yes, you're right. All the Toyotas finished in the top 5 or top 4, which is an impressive run. But I think that goes back to what Dale said with the engine department and some of that stuff. These engines are really good engines right now.
I think Matt was just exhausted from the rigors of racing.
That's it. That could be it. Rigors. And the questions.
I still get amazed that they sit there and continuously, as a driver and a competitor, you don't want to be talking about somebody else, especially when you've, 2 things with Matt, just as you pointed out, I was laughing at the same thing. You don't want to give somebody else credit for outrunning you.
That's
and
right.
then especially the guy that just took your job.
Yeah.
When are they going to figure this out?
I know in NASCAR, are you impressed with what Kyle did? No, I'm not impressed. He just beat me. I wanted to win the race. I'm not impressed with anybody. Come back and ask me on Wednesday when I'm a little bit kinder, a little bit gentler, and then I'll give you a good answer. But right now I'm going to say no.
Tough crowd tonight.
I'm sorry. The point is to beat these other guys, not to pat them on the back.
You have the experience of being in those same positions in terms of being in a chair in the media center and being asked those questions or out in victory lane. Yeah. So you guys realize, and also something to note is the fact that Martin Truex, talking just storylines in general, talking about Matt Kenseth moving up. Now, Martin Truex, at the start of the show tonight, start of the evening, we said he could clinch the regular season if he left here with a 121-point advantage. If you were paying attention, he did not. So he did not clinch the points table. He actually lost some points. So he's 101. He's still 101 ahead.
So if you're that close with 3 races to go, he's going to clinch it. Right. It's not like he's going to have problems here the next 2. So he's going to get. That's your job, and mine's to shoot that down.
Good.
I'm thinking from a
way to build it up.
Driver's perspective, because everybody else is talking about that. That didn't even factor in his thinking here. It could be a byproduct if he goes out and has a good night. That's all that he was thinking, is we go do our job and that may happen.
And listen, we heard one of our reporters, Kelly, asked Matt about, points and all that stuff. Matt wasn't thinking points, and that's what Matt said. When you're on the racetrack and you're out there running, you're not thinking points. You're thinking, who's leading this thing? How do I catch him? How do I get around this car in front of me? What am I going to do? Am I 10th? Am I 5th? Am I 1st? Am I 95th? It doesn't make any difference. You're just trying to move forward. That comes when you go back to the motor coach or you sit down with your crew chief and you debrief after the race is over. Then you figure out where you're at.
Kyle Busch, the winner tonight. It was his 6th Bristol win, but it had been 6 years since he won here in the Cup Series. He's going to come join us. You realize, guys, he is the Yule Moldauer of NASCAR. That's the gymnast who won his first U.S. Senior all-around title tonight. I'm throwing that in for the gymnastics fans. Kyle with the broom because he swept all 3 races here at Bristol. We'll have more coming up.
Under the lights in Bristol, baby. Keselowski slow, left front tires down. Already some bumping going on. Things happen very quickly here at Bristol. A lot of damage to both the 3 and the 33.
Thunder Valley changes. It's a major shift. The speed, the chaos is Bristol at its finest.
Big wreck for the 24 of Chase Elliott. Hard into the wall is the 34.
At this point in the race, it's no more given. It's only taken.
Down the backstretch for the final time. Kyle Busch, get out the broom. You just swept at Bristol. Confetti starting to fall here in the Coliseum. He will bow to the crowd with that checkered flag.
There was confetti everywhere, and when you're the winner, you get to do this. You get to throw your little boy Brexton into the air. Whoa, that was a high one there.
Yeah,
that's pretty good after driving 500.
That is pretty good, because he said his arms were jello.
His arms were jello. Yeah, I'm glad you could.
Braxton obviously didn't know that. He was going home.
That's true.
In the last 7 races, it has been pretty much all Toyota. 5 race wins, 12 stage wins. Remember, Joe Gibbs Racing hadn't won until Denny Hamlin won in New Hampshire earlier this summer. And he spoke a few moments ago, Denny Hamlin, that is, with our Dave Burns.
Third for Denny Hamlin tonight, and I want to call it kind of a sneaky third. What was lacking for you at the end there, Denny?
I'd love one restart on the top. I think the 2 restarts I had on the top were within the first, 80 laps. After that, I was third on the bottom. Tried to get cute on a few restarts and tried to brake check at the end of the pit road and ended up losing 2 spots. I ended up on the bottom line anyway. So I went outside the top 10 nearly every restart and had to battle back. So I think we really had a fast car, equal to anybody in front of us, but we just didn't get in the right line, just didn't have that track position we needed. But the overall solid day for our FedEx Crown Toyota team, and we'll keep building, keep getting ready for the playoffs.
Well, in his 600th start, Kurt Busch comes away with a top 5 finish. Kurt, in the wall early. How did you guys manage to recover for such a strong finish?
I was trying to pace our car, and the Monster Energy Ford loved the top side. And the VHT, the PJ1, the grip, we just struggled in it since they started putting it down. But after reviewing tape and going old school, I figured we'd run that top groove after halfway, burn it in, and chase them down. And I just went too hard too soon, but we got back in position due to Tony Gibson's pit call. Great pit stops all night. We knifed through them on some restarts and sniffed the lead. I mean, it's my 600 start. We got beat by the same team of guys. But it was neat to sniff the lead with 50 to go and have a shot at it. So this old bull wants to put up a fight, and I'm ready for the playoffs. We keep running like this, we'll be all right.
Yeah, a bunch of Toyotas ahead of you. Where do you think that you guys were lacking, or what more did you need out of the 41?
There's a little bit of rear steer magic, horsepower, downforce. It's just everything. You can't pinpoint one thing. But this team doesn't give up, and I'm really proud of this group of guys. And this off week could be nice. Recharge, and then we'll charge through these final 12 weeks.
Thank you, Kurt.
Thank you.
Kurt Busch finishing 5th. He and his brother Kyle were both 5-time winners here at Bristol. Kyle trumps him tonight with win number 6, and he joins us next.
Except for tomorrow.
Well, what a weekend it has been. Actually, this was Wednesday night's truck race, which ended about midnight. So Thursday, I guess you would say, Kyle Busch won in the truck series. And he said, hey, the sweep is still a possibility. So on Friday, yep, that's Kyle in the 18 winning the Xfinity Series race here at Bristol under the lights. Okay, so then it's the tough one, the Cup Series, because he hadn't won here in 6 years in that series, but he makes it look, well, relatively easy. I know it wasn't easy, but he gets out the broom, the only driver to sweep all 3 races, and he does it now twice. And we welcome the winner, Kyle Busch, here to our set. And this is what you're used to. You're used to being in victory lane right up here.
Yeah, exactly.
They moved it out in the front stretch. Was every person in the stands part of that victory lane celebration?
Yep,
it was crazy.
They opened the grandstands, just like the old local short track, the front gate, everybody piled on down. So, yeah, it's old school down there. So, victory lane was certainly a huge celebration. A lot of people surrounding the gates, and a lot of people in the gates as well, too. Many of them, I didn't even know who the heck they were, but that's a great problem to have.
Okay, well, I said it when you walked up. I admit it, I did not think that you could get it done tonight after the truck race and after that.
You're a hater.
I am a hater. I am a hater. So, especially, but
Kyle, we're buddies. Come on, it's
I know it's Kyle. But coming off the last 3 or 4 races up here, 4 or 5 races, DNFs, accidents, and then you didn't qualify well. What was different? What clicked tonight that hadn't clicked over the last 2 or 3 years up here? Because you dominated for so long.
I think you said it. I mean, our qualifying average the last 2 or 3 years was actually really good.
Really good.
And our qualifying here this weekend was 18th. Well, when I swept the last time, I qualified 19th. So, we had it all going for us. I was trying to sweep qualifying all 3 and the races in all 3. And I was first in the first round, and I was praying for rain, and it never showed up. And then we missed. The adjustments for the second round, we just weren't quite there. But the car never was really great in qualifying trim, so that was the worst it drove all weekend. But I knew we had a really fast race car, and being able to get out there tonight, and really the beginning part of the race, I was just being patient, being smooth, being consistent, and I was just passing people, you know, going by them. I was going top, I was going high, going low, wherever, and it was just kind of working. So I'm like, okay, this is cool. It's going to be a good night. We get to about 4th. business kind of slowed down a little bit, you know. So those top 4, it was pretty tough up there.
Kyle, I watched you in all 3 of the races, and it seemed like you were the person that figured out where you needed to go on the racetrack sooner than everybody else. What was kind of dictating where you ran around this race, especially in tonight's 500-lap race, as you went from the bottom to the top and back to the bottom at times?
Yeah, I don't really know what it is. It's just instinct, you know. It's just something that tells you. It's like, okay, we're all running around the bottom. For me, it was kind of like I'd be running around the bottom and I would gain a little bit on the guys in front of me, and I'd get like this arrow sensation where I was like, okay, I'm not going to be able to pass him. You know, I don't have enough mechanical grip to be able to get past him, so I got to go somewhere else. I just need a different groove. We always talk about it as race car drivers, I need more options, and I had that option at the top. Started building my momentum, and I got it to work. About 2-3 laps later, I passed that guy in front of me I was looking for, you know, and then that's when everybody sees monkey see, monkey do, right? So then they all blow back up to the top, and it's like, okay, well, you guys are all up here. The bottom's open. I'm going back down there, you know, so just go where they ain't.
Talk us, if you can, try to talk us through this last 6 to 12 laps, because I'm going to tell you something. When you watch it on TV, it's impressive. Lap traffic is everywhere you want to be and everywhere he wants to be, Erik Jones. And you guys just maintain. Watching you guys work traffic, how tough were those last laps? Watching what traffic was doing, watching what Erik was doing, and trying to maintain what you were doing.
Yeah, this was early on in the day. This is a pass for the lead. But, yeah, traffic, you're right. I mean, I was coming up on some of those guys, and our cars were really starting to fall off there at the end, too. The pace was really starting to slow down, and we were actually starting to get into it at a time where it frustrates you as a driver, especially as the leader, because now your lap times are closer to those guys in front of you, and it's like, man, it makes it harder to pass them, and you really just want to blow through them and get through them and be back in clean air in a hurry, but you can't. So you got to bide your time, take your time. You got to be smooth. You can't slip the tires all that much. You got to do the right things in order to make sure you keep the car under you and you don't piss the tires off in doing so, and making sure that you can still have speed when you get back clear of those guys to drive back away.
Yeah. Kyle, the first part of the year, at least the first half, you were probably the fastest Toyota at a lot of places, at least out of the Joe Gibbs camp. I know the 78's been there all year, but a lot of things kept you from going to victory lane. It looks like now that you have the ship righted and everything. Was this just a work in progress to get to that point and then start making sure that the mistakes that were made weren't made again?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what it is. It's just racing luck, man. It just is what it is. Joe says he doesn't believe in luck. I told him he better start figuring out how to believe in it, because it's something that's out there, you know. And he always talks about how, you know, there's no such thing as luck. It's when opportunity meets preparation and you execute and you get it done, you know. But there's times where you do everything right, and then all of a sudden something will just step out there and bite you. And I mean, we were doing everything right at Phoenix. We did all the right things, and opportunity was going to meet preparation, and then somebody else's tire failure and hitting the wall caused a caution, and then obviously you're not going to win if you stay out, or you're not going to win if you pit. So we were kind of in a boat there. But that just felt like it happened so many times throughout the year for us, and it was really, really frustrating. But you just kind of have to wait on it, you know. And man, you get so down on yourself, and you get so mad, and you get so frustrated, and you're like, what can I do to change it? There's no luck store. You can't go buy it, you know. So it just takes time, and it turns around.
Two-part question. You and I, when we had Truex after he won, you and Truex have won, I think, as something like a third or half of the stage wins and races as we look at points, from bonus points. You ran your rear end off in the first stage tonight with Kyle Larson.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Look at that smile.
Because of that, I mean, explain, go through that.
I don't know how to, that was too long ago. You're right.
That was great.
I just remember.
It was great.
I remember everything about it, going high, going low, and of course you can never trust a two-car. So, you know, everything that was working against us, I felt like some things were, and I liked the bottom, and I thought Larson liked the top. Here we are, you know, and Larson liked the top, and we were just kind of mixing it up and each going both ways, and I could just get enough of a run like Erik Jones was on the bottom to make the bottom work, and then here Larson gets stuck. Well, he chopped my nose. I was like, no, son, not today. So, you know, I tell you what, Larson, I like Larson a lot, but he is an animal. I mean, he just drives the heck out of a race car, and he don't care if you're there. and he'll pull down in front of you. He'll take that chance that you'll cut him a break.
Yeah.
And sometimes you can't. Sometimes you don't. And I think that's just sprint car mentality.
Yeah. Yes.
You know, like when you're going down a straightaway side by side with a guy in a sprint car and you just turn it off to the bottom and you try to pull a slide job on another guy, you just don't care.
Yeah.
Well, that guy, he better check up or you're both going to be up on your wing. You know what I mean?
Hey, Kyle, you may want to see what the animal Kyle Larson has to say about you. This is a tweet he just put out. Love him or hate him, I feel he is the most all-around talented driver I will ever witness in my lifetime.
I appreciate that. And a lot of people would say those exact same words about Kyle Larson himself, you know, and I do as well. I've raced against him in trucks and Xfinity, and I've seen him work his way up and come up through the ranks, and it's just it's fun to race guys like that, because there's going to be some times where you mix it up and I dive in the corner and I'm too loose and we hit and we wreck or whatever. There was a couple times today where I had to run on Larson and I was a little bit ahead of him, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to go off in a turn 3 and I'm not going to slide Kyle Larson.
Yeah.
There's not a chance. so you just got to back her down when you get to the bottom and roll the bottom and try to clear him on the other end, you know?
I will say this. Dale and I, when y'all were racing, we said the same thing. Larson drives this place like you drive a sprint car.
Yeah.
He expects you to save his rear end when you get to the corner.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. And there was a few times where I did, and like I said, you know, I'm like, man, I'm going to slide Kyle Larson. But you know, in the back of your mind, you're like, there's no way you can slide a slider. Not a chance, you know?
Kyle, I know you hear a lot of it, and of course they're changing rules in other series and things, and a lot of people will say, look, you're so successful, you've won all of these races in the Truck Series and Xfinity Series, why not just concentrate on your Cup car, winning races there and as many championships as you can possibly get? What do you say to those people that are saying you don't need to be running those other races anyway?
Well, do you love your job or do you not?
Yeah, I'm not saying you shouldn't.
I know.
You're fun to watch.
Yeah. So I guess what I'm saying is, to those people, like, do you like going to work? Do you like your job? Do you want to work extra hard? Do you want to do a good job for all of those around you that make the company successful? Well, then you're going to go out there and you're going to run other races, you know, and things like that. And for me, I enjoy my job. I love racing. I love race cars. I want to go out there and do the best I can in anything that I do. And I'm also helping, I feel like, facilitate people through the sport as well, too. You know, Kyle Busch Motorsports has actually sent, I think it's plus of 15 people from our place through the Xfinity shop to Joe Gibbs Racing that are working on our Cup cars. Yeah. You know, there's Eric Phillips, who's now working on the Xfinity side. There's my crew chief there. There's other guys that are on the shop floor. Brandon, actually, one of my main mechanics, came from my Truck Series team at Kyle Busch Motorsports. He works on my Cup car, you know. So that's kind of how it all goes. And I'm not easy on people either. I'll tell you, if you ain't good enough and you get, you know, out the door and you got to go work somewhere else. Otherwise, you know, a lot of good people, I'm hard on them. And I tell them when they screw up. I tell them when they do wrong. And they do the same for me. But the cool opportunity about that is they get better. They work harder. They know. And they're like, okay, we're going to listen to this guy. We're going to do our job. And they get to go on up the ladder.
And I'll say one thing about you. You talk about being hard on them, but we had a shot at you after Victory Lane and LaSalle. You went by high-fiving everybody in there, thanking them for that, because you know how tough this was to get this sweep and how much it meant to you. So you got that side in you, too, I'll say that.
No kidding. I mean, those guys, they bust their tails. They probably have one of the worst schedules in our sport. You know, the drivers, we got it a lot easier, I'd say, than the crew guys, and they put up a fight all the time. So love my guys.
Yeah, okay. And I'm going to continue on the vein where Dale was going. From the outside, you know, fans look and say, you're just taking away from the Xfinity and the truck. The way you just explained it, you're giving back to the Xfinity and the truck. You have put your money where your mouth is. You have a team. We've seen Brad Keselowski shut the doors on his team this year. How tough is it to be a Cup driver and do what you're doing, but at the same time say, hey, look, I'm going to make a commitment to this sport that I love, that I want to drive race cars in. I want to be here even after I get through driving. How tough is that for you?
It's a big challenge. I mean, I've got a lot of great people there that I really rely on, and I ask them to help me run the business. You know, we kind of run it, and we make key decisions as a committee. You know, if I'm really, really passionate about something, I make the call. I'm the end all, you know, but otherwise I rely on all of our people at Kyle Busch Motorsports to help me out through some key decisions and some things like that. But I admire Brad for what he was able to do. I admire all the Truck Series teams for what they're able to do and what we're all doing in this environment. But, you know, like Brad said, you know, it hadn't gotten better. And so, you know, at some point you got to, no different than Tom DeLoach, you know, with Red Horse Racing, you got to cut the bleeding somewhere or stop the bleeding somewhere. And so those guys are doing that. But for me, I'm having fun as long as I can go out there and continue to give back to the sport. continue to make people and excel people and make them push them on to the next levels. And of course I can go out there and have a little bit of fun as well while doing it. And I'm out there also being able to help out and teach some of our younger drivers and kind of follow them around and see what they're doing. And, you know, hopefully be able to make them into what future stars are going to be, and that's William Byron, that's Eric Jones, that's Christopher Bell. I mean, we've sent a few of them through our place.
Yeah, and I'm going to say this before Krista takes it. It's easy for us to be on TV and to criticize you. It's incredible, and it's easy.
It's even easier for people behind keyboards.
Yeah, exactly. Believe me, you know, they know my name's Kyle too. Believe me. And it's easy to set up there. But when you explained it the way you explain it right here, that your passion for the sport and giving back to the sport, helping young drivers, helping crew members, helping the sport grow. Congratulations. Thank you. That means a lot. That means a lot to me that's been in
Well, and hopefully some folks at home who are watching that and never maybe thought of it that way are saying, yeah, that's true, and everything that you do. And you mentioned bleeding, and I have to ask, where's the sword?
I don't know where the sword is.
Where it is right now? Because
as soon as I see it and I hold it up, I put it back in the thing, and then the track guy takes off with it. So
because that's kind of new. Is that the first sword?
So I was actually really confused. I got to Victory Lane for the Truck Series event, and they gave me a sword, and I'm like, whoa, I didn't know that they gave them for Truck, Xfinity, and Cup. So I got 3 this weekend.
Oh, great.
Man. So Brexton, Samantha, and myself.
No, he's
oh, my God.
years old.
I know. I was just going to say, we're all going to have sword fights.
Who gave you the sword?
Who did? Yeah. The track.
The track. I mean, was it a guy in a loincloth? Because a guy in a loincloth was up here, a toga. I said a loincloth. He was up here a couple of weeks ago or a couple years ago. And,
There's a guy in a toga. No, listen,
I don't know.
stop.
I don't know. That's all I can say, people.
Don't worry. I'll find out.
Thank you again, too, for coming up here, taking some time and joining us. And by the way,
congratulations.
Our friend Darrell Waltrip, of course, 12-time winner at Bristol. I think he put a tweet earlier that Kyle Busch, you are the new king of Bristol.
I appreciate that. Well, thank you very much, DW. And I did surpass my brother. We're no longer tied.
I know.
So impressive. Somebody asked me about that earlier today at one of my hospitality appearances. They're like, so do you guys have like a friendly wager or whatever? And I'm like, no, not really, but it's going to be nice when I get 6.
Trust me, they keep track of it. Kyle Busch, the winner here at Bristol.
Right
Thanks, Kyle. We'll be right back with a little bit more, including Coach Gibbs' reaction to his driver, Kyle Busch, winning here at Bristol. That is coming up next.
The Jaguar F-Pace are back. It's Darlington, the throwback party you've been waiting for. And everyone is going to be there. The Southern 500 Throwback Race, live from Darlington on NBCSN.
We're hitting the road to Pocono. With only 4 races left, it's gonna get a little touch and go.
Whoa, big crash.
At the Tricky Triangle, the Pocono IndyCar 500, tomorrow on NBCSN.
Welcome back to Bristol. There you see the haulers. Those truck drivers are going to have a late night, but luckily a short drive back to the Charlotte, North Carolina area where most of the NASCAR teams are located, including Joe Gibbs Racing. The coach, the winning owner tonight, his driver Kyle Busch won. We just had Kyle Busch up here with us. Let's hear what Coach had to say.
I always reflect back to everybody back home that works on the cars. We got a whole group there that everybody touches the cars, front office, and everybody working together. I know Adam really appreciates their effort and dedication. But Kyle, obviously, that's his truck and did a fantastic job with that. And then come back at Xfinity and do what he did there. And then tonight was just it was spectacular. It was great. And really appreciate the talent he has, and it's fun kind of being a part of all this. I'm thrilled. Like I said, I just appreciate JD and everybody back home. I talked to all those guys. I talked to all the Toyota guys, all the Mars guys, a lot of phone calls, and everybody's happy.
Always nice to see Coach happy. DJ, you drove for him. You know how much this means to him.
Coach happy.
When we come back, we'll tune into some of the radios. This should be good. Here's a quiz question. What is the first NASCAR show on weekdays?
NASCAR America.
There you go. I was looking at you blankly. It's NASCAR America.
No.
5 p.m. Eastern every weekday. And one of the special parts of it, Scan All, where you get to go inside the car, listen to the radios, the drivers, the crew chiefs, the spotters. Well, here's a little taste of what we heard tonight in Bristol.
place where daylight turns to darkness, and 40 cars take on the high banks of the last great Coliseum. This is Bristol!
It's Bristol. How's everybody doing?
A win means you go to the playoffs. A win here means so much more.
Other people could have a lot of misfortune here. We could be right back in this thing. Step forward. Let's go win this thing.
Awful. Second, I get out of the VHT on the bottom. I get on the straightaway and light the tires up. And then running the top, I just don't have anything in the back to lean on, but I'm tight with the front. I don't know what to tell you about that.
That's awesome pit stop there, boys. Good grief. For that, buddy. Not gonna win much unless we can step it up in here.
Can you give me a piece of tape, a big piece of tape? Put it in the window. I'm trying to fix my clothes.
Chad, I'm having a lot of interference, and it sounds like it's you keying up to me, so if you say something to me and I don't respond, just say it again.
10-4. Like we got a tire going down.
Forward, getting ready for you.
To me, I wonder if it's just a momentum thing and it just shows up on the straightaway. You scared me there for a minute, buddy. Don't worry about it. Wasn't even close. You're cool as a cucumber. Not sure what the over-under was on how many times we were going to pass the one, but I hope we took the over. Tires are all gone. Keep it nice and straight. Just focus, buddy. Just focus.
Kyle Busch, get out the broom. You just swept at Bristol.
Pure excitement from Kyle Busch.
That's the interactive scan all right there. Sound like Rick was Publisher Clearinghouse. Kyle Busch, you just swept Bristol.
How many coffees did you have today?
I just had a few, and it's only 12.
It's almost midnight. There you see the numbers from when Kyle Busch swept the first time back in 2010 compared to this weekend here at Bristol. I don't even know where to go with that.
That's
I know
impressive.
we're not. Here's the beauty. Yeah, Dale.
Doesn't make any to win one race here is hard.
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of people, some of us only win one race here. Yeah. And this guy goes and wins every race that they put on here. It's just incredible to think that you can do all of that, the difficulty of this racetrack and everything going on around you, and make it happen. You know, there's not enough superlatives to talk about what a tremendous driver he is, especially at this track.
Yeah, and we talk about it all the time. You know, the Truck Series is one level, the Xfinity Series, he had to step up every time he got in a race car this week. Step up from Wednesday night until the Xfinity race on Friday night. Step up big time tonight and make something happen. And, you know, like we said, I was honest. Hey, I didn't think you could do it. And he said, I didn't think we could do it either, but it fell into place and everything worked.
They asked us to make picks, and we picked the two guys that finished second and third. They just couldn't
We were
outrun
this
Kyle
close.
Busch.
Dang.
Oh my gosh, you guys are so smart.
Oh, yeah, we are.
You know,
unbelievable.
You know
It's a
who I
magic 8
picked?
ball.
You know who I picked?
Who'd you pick? Kyle Busch?
Kyle Busch.
Yes.
Of course.
I say that now.
I'm going to go get my bug of salt and come back.
Hey, we're not done yet. Who knows what Kyle still has in store? When we come back, we'll hear from the crew chief, Adam Stevens, right after this. So the names in yellow know they will be racing in the playoffs for the championship. That includes Kevin Harvick, and with his 8th place finish, it's a Bloomin' Monday, a free Bloomin' Onion with a purchase of any entree. Of course, Kyle Busch, tonight's winner. Earlier, we had a little audio trouble when we were talking to his crew chief, Adam Stevens, so let's give it another try.
Yeah, you know, it's good in a couple ways. Traditionally, as a team, I feel like we come out of the box strong each year and able to chip away a couple wins early, and we had the speed to do it early this year, but daggone it, we just couldn't capitalize, and still showed the speed here through the summer stretch, but we're starting to be able to put some races together, and it feels really good.
It absolutely must. And hey, look at this. We talked about how crazy the fans get here at Bristol. What do you think about this?
That's just sad. Parental guidance has broke down somewhere.
Yeah, I could have gone without it. This has been a great weekend until this.
Until I say, I'll never be able to get that out of my mind.
Here's the problem. If they didn't put sunscreen on, they're going to have those letters burned in their skin.
And they deserve that.
Okay,
Yes.
the Dale Jr. fan that we saw a couple of weeks ago. All right, so Bristol is now in the books.
Yes.
Kyle Busch wins, and we talked about the fact that Eric Jones, watch out for him. He had a great run. Matt Kenseth, Jamie McMurray still in, but on that dangerous territory. Chase Elliott still in. It's an off weekend. Dale, we know you'll be at Road America for the Xfinity Series race next week, but when we get to Darlington, of all places that these guys have to perform, I mean, the difficulty is just through the roof.
Yeah, I think so, because, I mean, we talk about it every year, and we could say the same thing about this place in a lot of ways. 40 drivers, plus the track is the 41st competitor. You've got to race the racetrack, and Dale has won there. You have to race the racetrack above all else because you've got to make it to the end of the race. And these guys are running so close together. We heard Adam Stevens say the top 3 or 4 cars here all run the same speed. Running the same speed as trying to get around Dale Jarrett at Darlington and race the racetrack can be a huge obstacle in being successful, gaining those points, doing what you need to do. So Darlington is going to be a wild card for some of these guys.
Yeah, and we talk about, you've been through 24 races, and are you just going to step it up in 2 races and say, hey, just because we have to go win to get in the playoffs, we can make that happen at Darlington, which is so difficult? No, you're probably not going to. But Eric Jones is running well enough that he might can go there and compete, even though it's a difficult, hard racetrack in a Cup car with all the horsepower and everything that goes on the racetrack. The racing surface is worn out. Where's the tires out? There's just so many variables there. The pit crew is going to play a big hand in who can get out front. Talk about being out front and being able to control things.
And it's a throwback weekend. We're celebrating 85 to 89. That means we need to get our outfits ready.
Oh.
Do you see how big I'm smiling?
Yeah.
I can't wait.
I can't. I don't even want to talk about her outfit.
No, I know. Why did I even do that? Why did I even do that?
Speechless. Yeah. Speechless. I can't wait till this year.
I love the 80s. Big hair, don't care. Can't wait. Hey, a huge thank you to everyone on our crew. The temperatures today were just blistering. Kyle Busch blisters the competition. We'll see you September 3rd, Labor Day weekend from Darlington.